do it, and we're going to do it right. Scott Chally, I'm going to move over, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pastor Kevin. I'm going to start out where I kind of cut it real short last time about my history of basically what I've done and different accomplishments and different things that I've achieved throughout my life. It's part of the Scott Challey Believes. All of this information is in there about my life. It's not a biography, but I have seven brothers. Well, there's seven of us in the family, or brothers and sisters. I got four sisters and two brothers. My mom and dad are from Illinois. My mom is from Chicago. My dad was from Oris. I was born in Sandwich, Illinois, but I didn't live there very long. I moved. Well, I live in Monticello, Iowa. As far as going to school in Monticello, I there's some not a lot of achievement in school. I was an average kid in school, or a little less. I had dyslexia. I had a learning problem when I was younger. I had a hard time reading and stuff. And but there was still stuff I was good at math and stuff. And I was clever. So I overlooked that problem. As far as in school, I went out for sports. I went 3 years of wrestling, 2 years of cross country, and 1 year of track. Our cross country team in 1988, when I was running cross country, I was never on the varsity team, but I was probably about the eighth or ninth best on the team. They went to state that year and took third. They tied for second, but the sixth place runner ended up getting them third place. So that kind of shows a little excitement in my life. As I moved out of school, I came into the military. Now, it wasn't the best how I entered, I guess you can say. There was a dilemma. Um, it's in my book. It's about, uh, it was between either going to jail or going to the military. They gave me a choice. I ended up going in the military. When I went in the military, well, it was a shock. Uh, Everything was presence, leadership, people screaming at you. You had to excel. You had to prove yourself to the world in the military to be the best, or that's what they want you to be. And I still remember my first song, our cadence song, sound off sound in second to 80th uh, field artillery in basic training, which it went like this. It was like, we're rough, we're tough, we take no stuff, motivated, dedicated, call your bluff, physically ready, trained by the best, mighty, mighty mad dogs above the rest. Hoorah, hoorah, boom chugga lugga lugga, boom chugga lugga lugga, hoo, hoo. And that still stuck in my head because that's how great it was. I achieved in the military. Uh, my physical fitness standards were around 280, 290 out of 300. So I wasn't the best, but I did get a good score. And my marksmanship, as far as firing weapons, I was always expert. I was an excellent soldier. Um, that was, it took me 3 years, 10 months to make sergeant. After I made sergeant, a couple years later, I came down on a listing from the Department of the Army for a DA selected BNOC school, leader for to become another higher leader in the Army in the next level or rank, and they selected me out of having to wait your time. Um, the thing is, I had problems then. I had a section chief that wanted to challenge me. He told me he did not want this soldier in the army anymore. And this soldier was my soldier. And he said that he wanted me to process him out of the army or start the paperwork to start the beginning, to start writing them up, to basically ride on the individual. Now, me being a sergeant said, no, that soldier that I had was a good soldier. He was great. I've never had any problems. He had a little bit of a chip, maybe on the way he spoke a little bit, but he was good. And I denied that authority. Well, this soldier was Specialist Green. He was a black guy. Now, my section chief, I don't think he was prejudiced or nothing. He was from Alabama, but he wanted him out. And I didn't like the idea of that. I fought for this soldier and he stayed in and they dropped it on him. But they turned their opinion and their guns towards me, basically, saying that I am a major problem now. I don't communicate like I take authority or directions like I should. So they were writing me and they wrote my NCOERs. And there was one time in particular, I remember, I sat there and I was coming back. Oh, I was coming into work early one morning. It was for a battalion run. Uh, it, there was the whole battalion lined up, and I was running about 3 minutes late. And I was driving, and I picked up an MP. An MP followed me into the caserne, right up to where I parked the vehicle next to the formation. The MP got out of the vehicle and seen that I was trying to make formation. And he said, "Sir, you have a good day. I think you got other problems to worry about." I he didn't write me the ticket, but I didn't get in trouble for being late for that formation either. But that was the worrisome thing because I didn't want to lose my living, what I did. I enjoyed the military. And I sat there and had problems. I started having stress at that time because they were trying to write me up for everything and get me in trouble. And at that time, I went to sick call and I went for the situation where I said I was having problems mentally adapting with uh, the Army. They put me on Prozac and they found out or put me down as having major depression. I came down with major depression in the military. Now, after I got out of the military, um, I worked a job at a factory as a welder. I moved on from that about a year and a half later, and I started a business. And the businesses that I went into was a delivery business hauling lumber for a store. And I sat there and had 4 trucks for the business, which I did 20 to 30 deliveries a day. And I did that for about 3.5 years. I found out I wasn't making no money on it. But to let you know what the business was, it was called Ace Services. I came up with the Ace Services back in 1998, established as a business. And I used that same Ace Services with the logos of the three aces, the aces, the hearts, spades, and diamonds in the New World Order. Now, I didn't know about the New World Order until 2006. That was 18 years later. Now, when you look at that, I did a delivery service and I ran that for a couple of years. Um, I ended up, when I closed shop, I went back into the factory um, and I was in there for about another 4 years until 2006. And that's when I had my major breakdown and I seen asteroids hitting the Earth on April 24th of 2006. It's been 15 years ago. And now the government was pretty reasonably taking care of me the whole time. I'm disabled through the Veterans Administration and Social Security. The last time I worked in a factory was 2014. I've been focused on writing my books, and I've been focused on this new world order for the people. I've been working the whole time. Just you don't see me working. I'm working on something that's great for the people. I see a vision that's great. And I just wanted to break that into that a little bit to see where I'm at. That kind of gives you a little insight. Now I want to do an insert uh, to the Beepin Brothers Road to Success. I'm going to read for about 20 minutes, and it's going to explain basically the first part are the major and the necessity that you need to know about ACE services in the new world order, and I'll explain that. Okay, this is right out of the book, and this is in the process of a movie. So they're filming, and I'll just continue. I'll just go along. Scene 75 took place in Scott's den. Scott had just spent 2 weeks after work and weekends writing up a new world policy. Scott called for his wife Sandra to come downstairs. He wanted to read the new world policy to her to see what she thought. Director's cut, guys. Scene 75, take 3. The first pages of Scott's new world policy. Scott's yelling, Sandra, can you come downstairs for a few minutes? Yeah, I can come down. She had come down and sat on the futon. Well, honey, I think I'm finished with the first draft of the New World Policy. It took me about 2 weeks to write, but I think you'll like it. I would like you to listen and tell me what you think. Is that okay? Sandra, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Okay, here it goes. I named it ACE Services with of ACE, three branches, Ace of Hearts, Ace of Spades, and Ace of Diamonds. It stands for America Constitution of Economics. Interesting. What do the aces stand for? The Ace of Hearts stands for love and represents the people in the healthcare and anything related. The A standing for America, and definition of America is relating to the United States or the continents of America. The Ace of Spades stands for power and represents leadership, justice for all people alike. The C standing for Constitution, and the definition of Constitution is the body of fundamental principles or established procedures according to which a, sen- a sen- state or organization is governed. The Ace of Diamonds stands for wealth and represents the money to be used for the government funding of buildings, projects, and such as roads, schools, and wages of people who work for the government and all people. All the money that is needed for the people or projects. The E standing for economics, and definition of economics is relating to economy or economics or economy in justified terms of profitability. Nice, very interesting. Sounds like he put a lot of thought into this. Yeah, but it only gets better. I'll read to you and just stop me when you want a break or when you have a question. Okay, I'm ready. ACE Services is a constitution governing the people's protection. It'll establish a better life society for which we, the people, live by bringing balance to a system in how we operate. I, Scott Leroy Chally, see a vision of 3 different branches that will be known as ACE Services. As I, read along, I'll explain on how ACE Services will benefit this world. I will go over and explain 3 of the 4 powers that will represent our society, in how, in relationship, we, the people, will be helped and why we will need to uphold these powers. You will then see new laws come into effect as well as some old laws be removed from the books. You'll see a medical system for the people, not for the unjust good of profits. You will see a well-balanced lending system, which will be fair for all. You will see the people will not be afraid to invest in our economy, which will we will have secured markets balanced and backed by the government. All leadership will be looked at, and some ethics of leadership will be changed to meet for the commonwealth of the people. There will be a double check system in all parts of the government. Civilian officers need to assure no wrongdoing is being done to mankind. You may be asking, how can this happen? Well, for the most part, information will be gathered or obtained from the people by sealed collection boxes in every post office. As a sealed collection box is removed, another sealed collection box will take its place. Only the facilities to where the collection boxes go would have the access keys and the necessity keys, codes and keys needed to open them. All the facilities that receive the collection boxes will take the necessary steps to safeguard the information obtained in the collection boxes by keeping the security of the information obtained at their utmost responsibility. Failure to do differently could lead to an immediate dismissal and prosecution to the fullest of the law. These boxes will be accessible for all people, no matter how young or old, for the good or for the bad. The people will have the right to voice their opinions to be heard, or at least suggest something that they would like to see changed. This will include if it's a sensitive situation like a minor being sexually assaulted, or rape cases, or spouse abuse cases where they may be afraid to take it to the police. Small businesses, big businesses, companies, factories, in all life should now worry on the way they operate. Now, the common day worker will have more rights and have the backing of the law on their side. All concerns will be addressed and carried out, whether for the good or for the bad of the applying parties. Laws will be proposed due to the effects of multiple complaints of the same in nature, or be considered for new operating procedures that best fits the common public. Tallies will be kept on how we can achieve a greater society. The state representatives then would work in suggestions into bills and laws that would best suit the people. If negligence or wrongdoing would come to any official in any of the service offices, that individual will be immediately put on suspension until the matter is solved. He or she will be upheld at the fullest of the law. If the one who puts the complaint forward is falsifying or found at fault without reasonable doubt, he or she will or could face criminal charges. The employer at that time will have full right to fire the individual. There will be what you call a scorecard or sheet with a rating scale from 1 to 10 made up for each person for each complaint submitted. They'll have to write a brief statement explaining the situation, the appropriate action were taken. All actions will be kept on file at appropriate state office for a minimum of 3 years. Sandra, that last part with the scorecard, you're telling me, are you saying there'll be a card with people that people will be able to fill out at every post office to concern a problem of any sort that will be followed up by the Ace of Spades department? That's correct. And the Ace of Spades department will also do the rating of how important and a written portion of how it was handled, of how it was handled, or how to be handled. Cool. Okay, continue. So let's be keen about this, I say. If we're not looking out for one another, we could close down our own employment due to the neglect of our own doing. In no way, shape, or form should blackmail be used against a company or an individual working for a company for profit to better oneself. I suggest businesses may want to look into profit sharing for their workers to keep a more stable workflow being produced. All A services offices will have the necessary information and updated policies and procedures for the businesses to conform by federal, state, or local laws. All a business has to do is make a call to the appropriate office for the information they seek. At any time, at any time, there will be a number for anyone to call for help or information, but actions have to be added to proper slips for official actions to be carried out. Here is a more defined list of Ace of Powers. The Ace of Hearts shall stand for love and represent Americans. It is the most important of all the aces. The Ace of Hearts would be the branch that covers the people's protection to ensure all have assistance on medical needs, to include government health and welfare, fair prescription acts, certain aspects of housing, of her urban development, family assistance programs, emergency relief efforts, and any other agencies that are similar in nature. The Ace of Spades shall stand for power. This will include political members, lawyers, business owners, and any executive officers to the everyday worker, from the highest ranking general to the lowest enlisted private, and all leaders alike. This branch will govern fair treatment for all to ensure all have a voice to be heard as equals. No undue justice should come to any one person. ACE services will allow all people to seek assistance throughout the land of any situation that may arise. All leaders, no matter how big or small, will have to abide by the rules set forth. The Ace of Diamonds will stand for wealth. These offices will handle the nation's budget and distribution of money to the agencies of need. Banking, federal aid will be handled at this office. Anything from financial needs to the people to emergency relief acts, along with investment agencies that would be for the people. The Ace of Clubs represents entertainment. The best way to explain this is if you look at how kings would use gestures for entertainment, or how the Romans would use their Colosseums, it indicates false barons and misuse of powers. Sandra. So the Ace of Clubs would be like your bars, your sports events, bowling alleys, and clubs. Yes, that's correct. Do you understand everything so far? Yes, I think so. It sounds pretty good. As you can see, we the people can prosper and feel freedom at its fullest. As we share in the duties of our everyday life, we will know that we are free and equal to one another. Fairness shall be carried out across the land with the backing of the justice system on our side. We will do away with the heart-stricken problems that affect each of us. When leaders are when leadership or leaders drift from their respective duties, it becomes burdens, and burdens we don't need. Some leaders may prejudge people without knowing all the facts by simply having a biased approach towards work ethics, which they may simply have, which they may not worry about the health and farewell of the workers. We need to seek out those leaders and try to train them to be good leaders. But if untrainable, we must replace. We, the leaders, need to listen to the people's wants, needs, desires, along with keeping the safety and their health top priority. Leaders need to make sound decisions. They need to be fair and just for all parties alike, without bringing shame to one's workplace or one's values. For leaders to place immoral acts or beliefs in front of people's common values, such as unjust or abuse of power for profits, prejudice, in front of their own values, for establishing hardship on others for their own good, all this should not be tolerated as a leader. Everyone will have to uphold the duties in which they operate for the common farewell of the people. No one shall use unfair judgment towards one another. Common interest shows that we all are all the same and make it better for all people. If the people get in unlikable situations where there is no help or of need for the people that fall between the guidelines of what we can't say or consider as fair or just plain hardship from such business or companies. Zero tolerance for harassment in the workplace should be upheld at all times. It is the leader's responsibility to uphold and provide a healthy work environment. Leaders must not mix up social activity as a source of a problem, but keep what is fair for one and the same for all. Also, keep a keen eye and ear for possible problems that may arise. Also, if one should see something strange occurring, they should contact the one or the parties that are involved before it progresses. We might want to consider a don't ask or don't tell policy. We should consider it for general living standards of what the people want. There also should be no harassment for the general population. Keep in mind, in other words, what a neighbor or someone we come in contact with should not post judgment on one another for what he or she does on their personal time. but also saying, thy neighbor you shall respect as long as there is no harm to come to thy neighbor, to include what may occur because of carelessness or misbehavior. There is a justice system inside of a justice system to see that all justice be carried out fairly. New bills and rights for the people will either be adopted or opposed, along with some of the funds being granted or suggested at to a court, a higher court, and approval within the government. The Ace of Spades office, when they act on dispute, they should evaluate carefully and have a bipartisan opinion on and adopt a situation on each matter, which can send an individual to a number of agencies to solve the situation so it doesn't occur again. This policy would use a three-strike method for the first line supervisor position. The position will add up for everybody in the immediate chain of command for such say company, government, business that it is applied to. There, if there were to be one person under the next level of leadership, the second level of leadership would have a total of 6 points. The third line of leadership would have 9 points, and the fourth line of leadership would have 12 points. But if the first line leadership had a total of 4 points, a total of 4 people, that would mean second line leadership would have a total of 15 points. 3 points per leader per per 3 points per leader would be granted in the direct chain to equal the total for the level of points for the leadership position. The highest level supervisor would have to set up a point schematic scheme as soon as possible within 90 days starting such business or expansion of such business. A company has as little as 10 people. You may have 6 points, but no more than 666 points for a company that has 1,000 plus people. 1,000 plus people. A line of leadership can branch off as much as you have, as much as for as many leaders as you have. I'll give you a few examples on how the point system will work. Let's say the first line supervisor gets turned into a service due to a racial statement that he or she had made to an employee, which a service office decided for the employee. The first line supervisor will now go down to 2 points instead of having a 3 point value. Also, the same supervisor will have to join classes on racial harassment acts. If he or she chooses not to attend the class in the time that was allowed, they would lose another point along with the chain of command, unless that leader was removed from his or her duty. The whole chain of command, all the way up to the president of the company, would also lose a point, and it would stay on their record for 3 full years. For each point that is taken away at said time, which only when the 3 years are up from the time of the said point was deemed to have happened, they would receive the point back to the 3 point where they had started with for the first line leader. No other first line leader would lose a point, only the ones that are in the direct line of the ones that got turned in. From the lowest to the highest, it'll always be accounted for any situation or incident that may come about. In rare cases, there may be more than 1 point taken, or a business may be closed down for a short time until the problem is solved. From the first line leader to the top of the command, there has a complaint against him or her. There could be as many as 3 points or half the total points taken away from which they would be entitled to. So they should be careful to what they do and make good judgment calls. The parties that are the party that is not at fault could sue for money and are pushed for criminal actions. ACE Services will do the best to make all complaints fair as possible and carried out. The point system on the businesses will be looked at as a record of how they perform. Workers may check on the record of the points of said business or company before seeking employment with them, or when business has insurance or is looking for insurance, it may cost them extra. Sandra. So if there were are six first line leaders, the second line leader would have a total of 21 points. Is that correct? And let's say there's only a third line leader, or a CEO of the company. He would have 24 points. That's correct. I believe you got it. Director Dean, cut. Good job, you two. Okay. I read that, and that was basically when I first started out 15 years ago. I wrote that. Um, the part I want to really break out, it said state representative is going to take laws into order. I didn't have it down right back then. That's not how it will work. There will not be nobody for the state to represent. Basically, what I'm telling you now, there is no politicians in the future. That means there's no Congress, there's no Senate. This world will come together, and I want to go ahead and explain why and how this will come about. I'm going to first break it off and tell you that there's going to be 150 countries in the future instead of 195 that we got today. There'll be 150. And basically, some of the smaller countries will come together, and they'll be based as one. They will There'll be maybe two, three small countries in a setting for a country, but there will be a total of 150 votes. So, and there will be one person from what I consider the royal family to hold the seat on the World Council. But understand, this guy that is in charge, he is not a leader really. He's a decider of decisions. What happens in the leadership of the world order, and it's only world order that affects all people. That's why there's only 150 representatives, and there's going to be one from every country. And these people before are, all right, just kind of hold off on that and remember what I told you about that. I'm going to break off and tell you this is how, this way you're going to see the whole picture. Everybody is going to have a chip in their hand and or a card with an identification chip and picture of the person. You can either have the card or the chip in your hand. And these chips are identified for the person in the world. And there's only going to be one number addressed to every person in the world that will ever hold that number. There will never be another person holding the same number. This will lock in the consideration of basically looking at uh, I hear I hear music.
Yeah, and what that means is we are going to pick up where we left off on next week here on the GMAP. You have a lot to share, and I want to make sure that we give you every opportunity to do so. I want you to hold on tight real quick, Scott. I'm going to talk to you in just a few minutes. In the meantime, we are going to allow Scott to be sure to pick up where he left off. We're also going to extend his presence here on the GMAP Broadcast Network. We were just going to initially start this and allow Scott to share the information on a weekly basis for about a month. But I'm telling you this, don't be surprised if we work out Scott to be here every week at this time to share and break down the awesome things that God and he has been given in his heart and spirit to share with people around the world. It's necessary information, you guys. And I kid you not, you are going to want to tune in every week, Tuesday, right here on the GMAP Broadcast Network, GMAP1.com, and hear from my friend and my brother Scott Chally on the number one faith-based motivational and inspirational broadcast platform in the country. Scott, I want you to sit tight, and of course, we are going to be reconnecting with you soon. And of course, we are also going to let the world know that if they, in fact, need to reach out to you, they can stop by the GMAP Broadcast Network, GMAP1.com. Click on the tab that simply says Bookstore. Once you click on that tab that says Bookstore, you will see a couple of Scott's publications, this one being one of them, which I have placed on the screen. The Beeping Brothers Road to Success. We want to make sure that we share that with you. And of course, there are so many great things and so much great information that we anticipate hearing from Scott. And of course, I am not going to be one to take that away from him. We thank God for your presence. We look forward to hearing from you all very soon. Until then, peace. God bless you. Take care. Take it easy. Of course, if it's good to you, take it twice. Scott, give me a few minutes. I'll reach out to you in just a few, man. And thank you so much for joining us. And I look forward to your continuance on next week right here. Same time, same place. GMAP Broadcast Network, GMAP1.com.